Good afternoon, greetings, good morning. It's Chance, your host tonight on God, Church, and Politics. Apologies for coming a little bit late, running errands and all happening at the same time. Trying to also organize myself and sit down and be able to have a discussion with my friends who are on the background. Apologies once again, but here we are. Let's kickstart 2022 with our discussions and talks around God, church, and the politics around our communities. And so tonight, I welcome you in a very special way. If somebody waited and waited and waited and waited, and probably did not know that we actually shifted from 7 o'clock to 8 p.m., let them know now that we're live. Good to go. All lights on, green. Okay. Listen, it's exciting. We'll be talking about Malawi as a nation with a lot of stuff that's been happening for the past week or so, or month, if you like. There's been so much excitement, so much happenings, and so much mixed bags and everything else, assorted biscuits in there. There's so much to chew from this discussion tonight, and I guarantee you've got the right panel. I believe that the people on this panel will tell you. We will also, the other thing I should say is that I would love you to show us your side of stories that we'll be talking about today, also to give us your view of what you think is happening so far. Headed in the right direction. We've got a new cabinet in place. We've got the Flames have just come back from the trip they went to make us proud. We're all proud Malawians today because of AFCON. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon. I've got my friends, like I said, I've got my friends in the background. And before I bring them one by one, before you see them on this platform, please do me a favor, share the video. Make somebody know we are live now. Apologies for being a bit late, but here we are. Kickstart. 2022. Happy New Year. Greetings from Birmingham with pride, United Kingdom. And I've got friends from all over the place. I mean, I think this is a more a balanced cabinet, if you like. This is a more balanced cabinet. Apologies, 3 men against 1 woman. It's fine still. I think in the government, we cannot all be equal, you know. We're created, of course, as equal beings. God made us male and female. I know some woman is being agitated on the background, but I'm just saying it as the host of the show. This is the more balanced set of people that I could bring, and I could manage, if you like. Anyhow, let's bring in one by one. Minister Mahar, all the way from the United States of America. Greetings, sir. Welcome.
Greetings. Excited to be with you today.
Thank you, Pastor Shanks, Bishop. Oh, I might be prayed for afterwards. Bishop Shanks from the Dublin Island. Greetings.
Yes, sir. Greetings to you back, man.
Well, okay, I'm not going to go on the other side. Let's welcome. In fact, normally they say ladies first, but today we're going to do it ladies last. Beulah Mlanjira, welcome, Sissy. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, and thanks for having me.
We're good. Thank you. You're most welcome. And I wanted just to say that I think we outclass the rest here because we are from the United Kingdom. Anyhow, let's get started straight into the games of today. We want to talk God. We want to talk church and the politics that's happening on the ground in a nation called Malawi. First things first, let's celebrate a little bit. AFCON. Let's start with the striker who never made it to AFCON. Do you know, if the world is watching out there, did you know we've got a striker who never made, who's actually now the bishop? So Bishop Shanks kick-started for us as my striker. I know you very well. People don't know you, but I know there's football in your legs, not preaching. Anyhow, bring it on. The excitement, the jolly days, AFCON, Malawi. Come on, talk about it.
Well, yeah, it was a great tournament for Malawi. I mean, the highlights of it all is the fact that we made it into the round of the round of 16 for the first time
Ever.
ever.
Hmm.
We've been to this tournament 3 times,
Come
and
on.
the last time we were there, I think it was in 2010. The highlights of it was that we had beaten Nigeria, which was something that made all of us happy. But looking at it this time around, we didn't just, bow out from the preliminary rounds, but we made it all the way to round of 16. We would have made it, in my opinion, if Malawi had played that game the way they played with Senegal. We would have won that game. But somehow it looked like the guys, I don't know, maybe there was too much respect to Morocco, and the tactics of the coach on that day, I didn't like them that much, because we were defending, and maybe
Yeah.
the aim was to break
Yeah.
them, using our pace and all that. But if we would have just played that game the way we played with Senegal, we would have won that game. Morocco is not a tough team compared to Senegal.
It was Morocco was there for the taking.
Morocco was there for the taking. And if we would have just matched them and played our game like we did with Senegal, used our pace and just attack, defend, but at the same time attack, would have been able to win that game easily.
I mean, Minister Mahara, let me bring you in. The excitement of Malawi for the first time ever.
Yeah, excited, very excited. Sports is like an opium. It's a drug, especially like in Africa. It's religion. There are two things: sports and religion. They need us together. It's
Definitely
it's that common thread that brings us together, and it's good, especially with what has been going on in Malawi. We have a nation that is fully divided completely, and so it was good to have something other than having the BBC frenzy. We also had a good story, right, to bring us together as a nation. And I think it was good even to see our leaders, our president, and everybody, being on the same side with the common people, with a common man wearing the same jersey, meaning that we are one nation. You know what I mean? So the sports was, we should thank our lads, our young boys. They did well. I'm not that technical in football, so I would not give that analysis like Bishop Shanks. That's the best time that I only watch sports, but I'm not really into sports like most people are. But I was, very proud of what our boys achieved.
It's indeed, like you said. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's about the unity that it actually brings and makes us forget about the different colors we wear in terms of partyism and all that stuff. But then we become a nation, really. Jolly good.
Amen.
Beulah, this was football, surely. I know, but also you in football. I've heard you talk about Manchester United.
Gabardino.
Oh, Mrs. Gabba.
That's right.
All right. Okay, fine. Let's.
That's right. Yeah, they do need our support, and I think they really did well regardless. And I think I even say that we should, they've been honored. They played really well, and I think we should continue to support them. I also think that we should support our netball team likewise. The more support we give our teams, the better they play. So I'm not a good football analyst like Shanks, but I think that they do need our support.
Oh, so you echo Mahara's
yes.
of not a football, but I am just like Bishop Shanks. Surely, I told you. Actually, Bishop Shanks, striker,
a defender who never made it to AFCON.
Bishop Shanks, you were not given the opportunity to reveal who I am. But anyhow, yes, I echo that. I mean, listen, it's I think the overall picture is that this was a jolly moment for a nation. And Mahara, you touched a little bit about the frenzy on BBC, which was contrary to what we were celebrating about. Talk about kick-started. What was this all about? BBC. Maybe somebody doesn't know.
To tell you the truth, I was one of the guys who was ignorant about whatever was going on with BBC. I never
Right.
followed whatever happened. I know definitely that there was some shade, there's some shade that were thrown to us for the president to compensate or to give incentives for the boys. I think which started everything, and then of course our donor community partners and all those people that sometimes help us, they were questioning if it's relevant for the president to to be giving our boys the money, and they were asking where the money is coming from. I didn't see personally, I didn't see that as relevant because, like I say, there are certain things that are priceless for a nation that brings us together. It's common, thread that knits us together. We needed our president to show that, he was supportive of our guys, just to motivate them. It opens a lot. There are nations like Brazil that really trade on just football, on soccer, tourism, and all those kind. They're exporting labor to Europe. They are bringing money into the nation because they have a lot of professionals playing overseas. So it's an economic issue as well if you organize on a grassroots in terms of management. I'm not so sure if we have done well into doing that grassroots mobilization in terms of soccer and all those things. But I think that's what started everything. But I'm here for church, God, and politics.
That's for sure. I wanted just to add to say, I think I was one of the people that were irritated when I saw the statements coming from BBC, like, should Malawi, is it right for the president to show sentiments, blah, blah, blah.
You sure you didn't shed no tears? Because you cried when the president when the president
made a speech of dissolving.
You had tears
dissolving the cabinet, and I'm like, what is this grown man crying about?
Okay. Now calm down, lads. Yeah. The thing about it is that I was a bit. I've never seen them critical of anybody else doing it anywhere in the world. Why in this world should they pick on Malawi? And I know probably behind it was the issue of a poor nation, blah, blah, blah. But I have no problem with a father motivating his children to do well. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, I think, but partly it has also to do with how we have prefaced ourselves.
Right.
Most of the times, because, when we were going through the COVID issues, we always say we are poor, we cannot do procurement, we can always depend on other people. So, if you are a beggar, you have prefaced yourself that you are a poor nation. Now, it begs a question when people are saying you are not paying medicine for the people.
And why are you spending
when
money
people
for?
Were dying, you could not do any procurements. You could not pay your workers well. You could not incentivize them well. And what's going on here? So
what's going on here?
Yeah, it's quite a good. We can discuss further. We can have a show for that.
Right, on another time, right? Yeah. Perfect. Now today, like I said, this is a bit of a mixed bag, and Beulah, did you want to say a word or two on what we just tackled a little bit, the frenzy?
No, I just feel that was very condescending. I mean, and even if do they expect the president to always come publicly to say, oh, I've given money to the health sector, I've given money to, he probably does that anyway, we just don't know. But that was to just push our boys, to give them that support, to encourage them. And I just feel like that was very condescending. I'm always annoyed with stuff like that. But I was very busy. I actually missed the show. I should have gone on that website as well. And but I just think the whole thing was so, we shouldn't be discussing that sort of condescending discourse just because the president of so country has decided to push their boys. It was very condescending and bad taste. So I think moving on. But what I found fascinating was the whole nation was grilled in the comment section, even in our language. And I think BBC can't understand like in the vernacular language and stuff. But I think the point was made across.
But again, I just to comment a little bit for 30 seconds. I feel like it is also a situation, like Mahara said, it's a situation that we create ourselves as a people, as a nation. We are not a transparent nation in many ways. If you look at what happens out here, everything is in black and white. Information is out there. People know why certain things are happening. In our country, like Bureau is saying, you may never know if the president has done that to the health sector or to this ministry or to that ministry. That information is not there. But it is not that he's not doing that. He's doing that. Now, just giving $1 million out there, it looks like that's the only thing that is blown out of proportion. But yet there are other good things that are happening in the country, but we don't just know about them. So I feel like it's something that we have created ourselves to a certain extent.
Which we need to,
yeah.
But in a way, probably we need to break it, and this was the beginning of it.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, this is not one of the things that I wanted us to dwell on, but I think it's one of the things that we couldn't help it, but we have to discuss. I mean, I saw the whole nation gather at the website of BBC. I never said a word. I just looked at I read most, not all, a few comments there, and a few people I saw Bishop Shanks there as well, but I mean,
did I comment?
Does that mean you're everywhere, Shanks?
I knew it's gonna be walking up. But anyway, since I brought you over here because of not only just the stuff that was happening in with BBC and AFCON. Thank God for AFCON. Malawi still the flag is flying high, and we are ecstatic. We are excited. But let's move on. I hope that we will be built up for more, and hopefully we can get to the World Cup at some point and be seen to be making a real impact. But anyway, the thing I brought us here again is to look at some of the things that actually have happened over the for the past probably 4 weeks, if you like, that kind of like towards the end of this year. Sorry, the beginning of this year, I should say, the end of the month, we began to see a few real things that have really they shook us. They kind of like threw us apart in terms of what's going on, but at the same time, it looks like there's something good out of it. Now let's start with the chaos. Let's start with the chaos. Minister Mahara, one of the things that was happened is regarding Martha and her position as the SCB and the stuff that was leaked out because of her, let's be with the right words, carelessness. Let's be honest. She was careless. She was talking to a friend. And by the way, I have stern words about this kind of a so-called friend, but I'm going to hold myself. But imagine me talking to Mahara and Mahara recording me. And then all of a sudden there is commotion about this whole thing. What did you make of everything else that began from the clips to what it is today, probably? Minister Mahara, if you may, kickstart this thing.
So with me, it's my take is a little bit non-conventional in a sense that I know most people want to pretend like what happened, what came into light was just like a surprise. We knew these things were happening long time ago.
Okay.
And in my view, I'll tell you one thing. I think it was a blessing in disguise that this thing came out, because who knows? Maybe we would have been still having the same old cabinet.
Right.
The same thing. Business would have been the same, just like
as usual.
As usual. So
I
want to concentrate. All of us, if we are to be honest with ourselves, we have emotional circles. We have people that sometimes we just talk to them. We don't know what led to that relationship with a young man who was on the other side. Now, I understand Mighty Zuma should have been more careful, considering her portfolio or her responsibility. But we also, I know Bura maybe can jump in later on. She might understand some of the issues concerning law, but from what I've gathered with a lot of people, clearly there were no gross violations in terms of breaking the law. Okay. With what she did. Yes. Do we condone what she did? I don't think it was right because it brought shame, obviously, to the leadership and to the president, but we should also look into the context. What if maybe that revelation didn't come out? There was so much that was going under the rag that we didn't know. You and me were not privy to know certain things. So I feel I'm looking at the opportunity. I've actually written an article this week that is mainly just dealing with the whole concept that is our democracy under threat. And when you look at the conduct of this Tonse government and the way they have conducted themselves. Now, I'll take you back to where we started, the God, church, and politics.
Right.
We were all excited that, at least we have a man of God on the helm. That is going to happen. And I'll remind you of the first thing that we talked. Bishop Shanks was there when we talked, and I say, when we were praying for Tonse government to get into power, we say, one thing that we know, if we're excited about a man of God, God governs himself by righteousness and justice. Now, if we are to look at how Tonse, I don't want to, analyze this as a general pundit, right? But we are God, church, and politics. So we have to go back to the context of this show. If we are to look at it and we are honest with ourselves as men and women of God that are supposed to be fair and neutral, do we truthfully find it that this government has conducted themselves with justice and righteousness? Is there any thread, or do you see anything that points to some level of justice and fair play and righteousness? My answer to that would be I don't think so. So I'll leave it over there. I thank God. If you ask me about the mess that happened, I say I think it was a blessing in disguise that we heard it from the horse's mouth.
I think I would agree with, not I would, but I will definitely agree with you. And I remember saying it or posting it on Facebook, on my page, and says, I stand with you, Martha, because I knew that to some extent, I think this was thrown out there for a reason. There's a blessing coming out of it. Anyway, I'm the host, so let me not make much noise. Bishop Shanks, I mean, according to Minister Mahara, there seems to be lack of execution of justice and probably righteousness in righteousness. Yeah, let's put it executing justice in righteousness. Do you concur with that?
Yes, I
before you answer that, are we allowed, or can we say something can we point out on some things that we feel that have not been conducted righteously as men and or servants of God who are in power to do the right things? Go ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you very well. I don't know what's happening. I don't know whether it's my network or it's your network, but
Mr. did you hear what I said?
I could.
Yeah, I heard it very well.
Right.
I could hardly hear you.
So let me say it again. What I want you to probably point out is there anything we could single out, or certain things that we would probably single out and say they haven't conducted themselves righteously? So we question this government.
Yeah, I mean, the audio that leaked revealed a lot of things that are currently happening within the Tonse government. You could actually tell from Martha's own words that even the church is involved when it comes to the issues of dealing with corruption, in the sense that if, for example, one belongs to them and they're involved in corrupt practices, the church will come and defend. And at the same time, politicians are doing the same thing. If, for example, I and Mahara are friends and I'm the president and I know Mahara is caught up in something, I will come in and defend him, which is something that we didn't expect to happen with this government. We had so much hope, like Minister Mahara said from the very beginning, that we had so much hope, knowing that we have a pastor as the leader of our country. Our expectation was that he will lead the country in righteousness. I'm not saying that he's not doing it in righteousness, but we are also seeing fruits, that are coming out of this leadership that are not good fruits. And so as a result of that, there's a lot of public outcry, because when you look at certain, it's like there is selective justice. The same things that they said they will not do, or the same things that they pointed their fingers to the previous regime, are the things that they are doing. You know, like for example, we have Bon Kalindo, where they're quickly putting him in prison for being in a rented house, and that rented house has electricity that came in there in a dubious way. They quickly go and get him. And when the real culprits, when the real people who really deserve that kind of treatment are left untouched, you know, so at the end of the day, you look at it, there's the Batawala issue, and there's another Indian whom the judge, you know, gave bail, and the SCB was like, what's going on? But they ended up giving him bail. So these are the people that we expected this current government to be hard on, but that's not what is happening. And the other thing as well, I feel like the president, people question the credibility of what he does, because he talks big and the actions are not equal to what he says. He'll promise a mountain, and then he'll end up giving us an anthill. Now, at the end of the day, these are things that people are questioning his integrity on. So whenever he comes to speak, his speeches are becoming irrelevant, and it's hard for people to tell if he is telling the truth or not, because he will say something, and then before you know it, you hear about something. Now, we are living in a world today where people have become savvy, people have become smart. And I always say that these days, you cannot hide anything, because anything that you do in secret, you know, there's a way that it comes out. And when it comes out, you know, it divides people and in their opinions. So at this point in time, I was in Malawi, and the Beulah would agree with me. If you walk into the streets and you hang out with people and you listen to people, this government, if the voting is to happen today, this government is not going to win. This president is not going to win, because people are dissatisfied. And if you listen to what people are saying, it's all about, oh, the president comes out, he says this, and he doesn't do it. He will put like deadlines. I'm gonna do this on such a day. It doesn't happen, you know. And then months passes by. So he kind of like reacts to situations like the Chizuma issue. He only came out when the audio leaked, and that's when he dissolved the cabinet. If the audio leak was happen,
I get what you're saying, but probably what I would want to probably, you know, ask you again is maybe it's about the timing. He looks at it as the timing. This is a good time to actually do what he had to do. You would think he was. We are saying he was so quiet. He never did it in the times that we expected. And somebody said it like this. Somebody said appointment is different from announcement. So we wanted an appointed committee straight away. That didn't happen. That wasn't announced after 48 hours. Yet, probably he appointed them within the 48 hours that he said, but the announcement did not happen. So the deadlines, can we not forgive him for the announcement?
Pastor Chance, I think, let's be honest.
Yeah, go ahead.
We need to stop reducing everything into a battle of semantics. Context is key to everything. We heard the president when he said it, rightly he put it, this is just semantics. We know that the problem with this government is, you know, they had over 10 months to constitute. People have been calling for the change of the cabinet long time ago. Not only the cabinet, we've been calling. The biggest problem with his government, with our president's government, is not only the cabinet. They can change the cabinet, but it's the civil service. They need to change the SPC,
the whole system,
the whole system, the one who's managing the whole system, the public sector. They need to overhaul. So if we are to be honest with ourselves as men of God and women of God, we should stand on justice. We should, be able to look into the eyes of a president. I love my president. I love Dr. Chakwera personally. You know that I'm his supporter. But then the thing is, we also have another role as men of God to stand on what is true. We can't just reduce the our office.
Very true. No.
We really have to. Now, you were asking if there's something that this government has not conducted. Sister Bura, forgive me, I'll pass it over to you. But
no, before Bura comes,
yeah.
This is not chance. This is somebody just trying to confront somebody on Facebook, saying we waited for your deadline and you didn't deliver. I'm just saying it because I read it. But then this other person says he did not promise to announce in 48 hours, but he promised to appoint in 48 hours. So I was just giving that, but I'm not. So I like you to balance it up.
I understand. I get what you're saying.
So let's move on to Beulah. What do you have to say in terms of has it been delivered? Has Thompson delivered in righteousness, as we are seeking some parts where we can be jolly good about this? Do you see anything that we could say, this government has done us good? Or shall we say that the blessing indeed that happened during the Martha Chizuma is what we should be talking about, the excitement out of it?
Right. I have a lot to say.
Okay.
So I'll start with
Condense. Go ahead.
Yeah, you've asked a lot of questions. But first off, I would like to say that before we start talking about righteousness, is it because our president is a man of God that we expect that everything will be done? Not expect everything to be done, but is it because he's a man of God that we bring in righteousness? If he was not a man of God, would we expect him to carry on in that way? And I think that should be our premise. We are saying that because we're believers, right? So we bring in a righteousness. He could be somebody that is a man of God that stands on righteousness, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, from the top to the bottom, everyone will also operate like that, right? And then going back to Martha, now the president did say that.
Before you go to Martha, let me welcome Elder or Mr. Chalong Vul. I was about to say Chalong Ngambi. You see, I've known Chalong Ngambi for a long time, and normally when I call him Chalong Ngambi, but he's Chalong Vula. Chalo, welcome to the discussion.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. I bet you've been listening on the background, so I will throw you at some point. But for now, Beulah, go ahead.
Right. So since our brothers just joined, I will just start off again. We were talking about the incident of Martha. And so the gentleman brought the issue of righteousness.
Yeah.
And my question was, are we talking about righteousness because our president is a man of God? And are we coming from the premise that because we're believers? If he was not a man of God, would we bring the issue of righteousness? But the reason why we expect him, as opposed to stand on that, is because we are all believers. But it doesn't mean everyone in his cabinet, in his government is a believer or even stand on that, right? And so going back to Martha, my take was that, as the president said, that the debate she was having with the gentleman was a healthy discourse, a healthy debate, right? And that she did not break any law. And as we know, that position requires her to a sworn oath. So she was sworn in, meaning that she cannot divulge any intel to just anybody. Think about it with MI5, CIA. They do not just talk about that sort of
stuff
information
to anybody else.
To anybody else. Now, looking at context, and she obviously trusted this person, this individual, and talked about stuff that is in the public domain. I suppose we all been talking about that. I don't know if there was anything new that she spoke of that is questionable. But I must say, when I was listening to the audio, I was gritting my teeth thinking, I hope she's not going to go further. This is a bit too much. I hope she's not going to go further. And then, when the gentleman started to ask her some certain questions like, oh, so what do you think of number one? I was glad the way she responded to that. She was smart. But my question has been that, knowing that this gentleman is who people are saying is, and I'm sure they were friends, they are friends, I think that it is safe to say that she should be very extra careful, because her position demands that confidentiality. And I think looking at the sort of woman she is, I think she has learned a lesson. But even that, the way it is, I think the president was, I don't know, I could be wrong. I think the president was very upset. I think he was very upset. I think embarrassed, to a certain degree, because it made him look out like as if he's not supportive of her. Now,
Yeah.
that's human nature, I suppose, going forward, this could be controversial. But if she carried on like that, how is everyone behaving? If she's top of ACB, anyone around her, how do they behave? So I guess it comes in the question that you were talking about, righteousness, that we can't be expecting these people to be righteous in their day-to-day activities or running of their, positions and stuff like that, or how they delegate that. But I think it's all a matter. I am a strong believer of integrity. And I know that the president is pushing on that integrity, but his integrity is questionable at this moment as well. We've discussed here before that have they delivered, and you all have mentioned that, you all have said that he does come and say ABCD, but there's no action, to back that up. With the cabinet issue.
Before you come to the cabinet issue, that question, let me just find somebody probably who can counter what you're saying. In terms of he just says, not delivers. Chalo, I want to bring you in a little bit. Do you agree surely there is some work that's being done on the other side, which probably we should also be talking about this, not just saying that the president doesn't deliver. What's your take on, is he delivering, or maybe is everybody right to say that, they promise much and deliver little?
The president is delivering. He is trying his best. In these challenging times, I think he's done well. There's quite a lot of things that probably Malawians expected that haven't happened yet, but that doesn't mean that it will never happen. I think we've passed through a very difficult period with the pandemic itself, the economic challenges of the world, many other factors that have contributed to some of the challenges that Malawi is facing at the moment. So when you ask me whether the president has delivered, I'll say he has, but there's even more that he's going to do. And I believe that he's going to do them things before the end of the 5-year period mandate that he was given by Malawians. So the promises were there. Tonse, I think it's everybody else now agree that Tonse Alliance did promise quite a lot of things. I don't want to say overpromise, because there's still time that if everything is put right, they would be able to deliver on most of the promises that they promised in their manifesto. So in summary, I would say the president has tried his best. He's working so hard. He's done the best that he has done so far, and there's more to come.
Right now, this is Chalo's version. Now I know that you lot are about to come in. Before I know. See,
I didn't finish.
Their teeth are out. But before
I did not finish.
Before you didn't. But before you come in, please. Okay, calm down. Right. Once again, let me welcome you in a very special way. This is Chance, your host for God, Church and Politics. And here today, we're talking about the issues that are surrounding Malawi. We've spoken about the jovial side of it, where we have enjoyed, AFCON. The boys did us proud. Whoop, whoop, Malawi on the top. But then at the same time, we have to come down on the ground where issues are happening. And we're talking about the Chizuma case, where things happened. And then now, boom, we have a new cabinet in place within 48 hours, or maybe not. But also at the same time, we're talking about the Chakwera deliver. Is he delivering? Others are saying he is. Others are saying maybe delayed delivering. But all the same, I would also have loved, listen to this, I would have loved all these comments that I'm reading from my profile, I think. Tikala Chimpango, Mrs. Tikala Chimpango she's got some points. I would love them to come on to where I can read them proper. Mrs. Chimpango, are you watching from if you're watching from my profile page, I would rather you go to Media Ease platform, because that's when you type in, it comes up right in front of me so I can see exactly what you guys are talking about. I don't want to be between two screens. I would rather be on one screen. So do me a favor, get on Media Ease Inc. And if you do not know the page, just search Media Ease Inc. You should like it. Come on, you should follow it. Anyhow, before I bring in the people behind who are ready to put their comments into what Mr. Mvula has just said, I would like us to take a little short break, and we will be back in a second. So I said, and let me say it again, welcome to the show. We are discussing stuff concerning our beloved nation, or maybe a nation in Africa, because I do not want to suppose that everybody is Malawian watching me now, because I've seen one of my beloved elders, in Elder Gabriel Chiwaye. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never listened to this guy speak the word of God, you need to listen. You need to go to NAC in Aldershot to hear him preach the gospel. Anyway, we're not talking about preachers here, but I just wanted to say, if you're not Malawian, feel at home, because we are talking about a nation in Africa and its politics and everything that's happening around it today. You can also be keen to hear what is happening. Surely, there is no boundary to knowledge, and so I really welcome you in this forum, if you like. If you have just joined us now, Elder Mvula was speaking about the delivering of our president, which I have Miss Beulah Mlanjira, we have Bishop Shanks, we have Minister Mahara, who were contrary to the fact that Chakwera has delivered. Let's bring them in. Ladies first. Beulah, go ahead. You said I cut you short. Your turn.
No, it's just fine. Another thing, I didn't want to. It is also good to acknowledge what he's done well. And one other thing I wanted to say, that in the midst of what happened with the whole Martha Chizuma issue, is that when the cabinet was reshuffled, we have seen that he has lived to his promise of gender inclusion, and we have more women in his cabinet. I think that is to be celebrated. And just to also add on and echo what Charlo said, is we are not saying he has not achieved anything. There are some things he has really done well. I just like also what Mahara said, we do love our president. I do like Mr. Chakwera. I do believe he's a man of integrity, and he listens to people. And but I just think that there's some vital areas that we need. I was in Malawi, as Shank said. We were both in Malawi, and us who live in the diaspora, we go there, you sort of get a shock with the situation in Malawi, and you realize that, Malawi needs rescuing. And I think I've said it before, that if we have to approach the situation in Malawi, it needs a bit of aggressiveness in its approach, because I sort of feel, personally, I sort of feel that the approach towards economic recovery of Malawi is a bit passive. We need some aggressiveness in rescuing our nation at this moment, especially. Yes, we've had challenges of COVID that is global. We know that. And but I just think that I'm hoping
let's be honest, in that sense of the challenges globally, economically, we're talking about the nations that are sound financially seem to have also stumbled So let's not be very elusive of the fact that Malawi as a poor nation. In fact, Dikala Chimpango is going to shout at me because he says, let's not call Malawi poor. Fine, okay, fine. I put my hands up. But let's say the nation that is less privileged would definitely be hit harder than those that are privileged.
Yeah, but again, looking at the money that is dangled around and the money that is spent around, I mean, you won't believe that Malawi is less privileged. There's a lot of money in Malawi that if we can just learn to prioritize and look at what exactly needs to be done to help our nation out of poverty or out of a place where it is, I do believe it is possible. Yeah. There's a lot of money in our country. Malawi gets a lot of money through donors and all that. There's a lot of money that comes, but there's also a whole lot of misappropriation of funds. And that's something that we need to look at, because even the cabinet itself, guys are saying it's a new cabinet. To me, I don't see anything new in that cabinet. That's just a change of positions. We have just seen like maybe 2 or 3 faces that came in because somebody died, and then they have to put in somebody, and somebody has just been moved from Homeland to another ministry or from foreign to another ministry. That's just, you know,
that's what reshuffle is all about.
Yeah,
it's not really checking out everybody.
But here's my
putting
point.
People in the right places.
Here's my point. There are so many people within this cabinet that the public are not happy with, and it has been a public outcry. And we expected, of course, Bureau is saying the president listens. Of course he does, but in some other things he doesn't, because at the end of the day, there are some people within the cabinet, not just cabinet ministers, but also the SPC. I mean, people have been calling for his head. There are a lot of things that have been happening. We just have to be real and be honest. I don't want to come right here and speak wholly about the president when behind the scenes I'm speaking something else. I just have to be dead honest, because at the end of the day, there are so many things that are going wrong in our country. And I do believe it is something that we create ourselves. And I do remember very well one of the interviews which the president had with Brian. He said he will be ruthless. He said he's not going to appoint people based on where they're coming from. But look at the current cabinet right now. 21 MPs are coming from the central region. If you look at it. Now, at the end of the day, that's the very same thing that he said he will not do, but it's happening. But so Bishop, we commend the percentage of women.
But Bishop Shanks, okay, so in my I want to say that
Pastor Shanks. I love Bishop Shanks.
Honestly, we just have to be honest.
Okay, fine. But listen to this. My question follows your saying that 21 of the members of the cabinet comes from the central region, which probably I may choose to argue.
I may not be right on the number, but many of them.
That's true.
We're talking about at least 80%.
80% are coming from the central region.
But what is wrong with choosing the right people, even though they come from the same place and they have good intentions for the nation?
Are you saying there's no competent people in Malawi?
There's nobody in the northern region who is capable and competent enough to run a
ministry.
I have no problem with that. But what I have problems with is we were saying we were going to change things.
Exactly.
What we are doing is we're just simply exchanging Mulanje Cho
with
Lilongwe.
Exactly.
You understand? So that you cannot actually, convince me that you are a change agent. We're talking about nepotism. We fought it.
Thank you.
For nepotism. Nepotism is where corruption feeds from.
Exactly.
That's right.
Because, when you have a nepotistic system, or what you're trying to do is to create a system that is going to feed into upward mobility. People are going to be promoted where they're not deserving that promotion, because you're just putting your cronies, you're putting your the people that
appeasements.
So when we're talking about the other time I was talking about I think what Sister Beulah actually mentioned about righteousness. Righteousness in this case, I'm not talking about the righteousness, being pious and praying, but this means morality.
Integrity.
The same thing that you're talking about, integrity, morality. Is there any fairness? Is there any justice? This is a government that has been overseeing one of the worst scandals that happened. People died in our hospitals. Okay. People, mothers, they've been giving birth without medicines in the hospital. That's not.
If I can come in, just to put in some
Yes,
sort
Brother
of
Charles,
opinion on
go
that.
ahead.
But could I at
I
least
think
finish?
I know you all mean well.
No,
Could I at least have
pause.
I
Let's
could
bring
at
it,
least
Charlo.
finish what I was-
Let's bring in Charlo for some good vibes.
The thing
Chance,
is,
what I'm
chance
saying
love
right
Carlo
now
because
is
Carlo will say what he wants
trying
to
to build
hear.
a case.
Let's bring
No,
in
no,
Elder
actually, I want
Charlo.
to come
Because
in
Carlo will say
and
what he
just
wants to hear.
intercept everything. So
Okay.
it's a well orchestrated maneuver to stop certain facts going on. I'll be honest with you, because
I
if we
think
are to
I
have a
understand
fair
that you
discussion
all mean
here,
well.
then we have to leave each other to be fair.
Yeah, I agree, Minister
Yes.
Mahara, but I think it's about before he forgets the point. That's what
No,
he's
what
all
about
about. So,
what about if I forget my point?
okay, go ahead. Finish
No,
off.
brother Charles, go ahead.
No, but
Okay, Charlo, come on in. No, Charlo,
on,
come on in.
just-
No, Bishop Shanks. No,
just to put it, just to
Okay,
put it into perspective.
I'm the man in front with
Just to put it
with
in perspective, Chance, at least give us maybe time, maybe 1 minute each or something like that.
Of course. So in fact, that was more than 1 minute, Minister Mahara. So anyway, bring in Charlo.
What I was trying to say was, I know you mean well, and we all of us here are patriotic Malawians who want the best for our country. But in terms of the cabinet, I think, to be honest, I think this new cabinet is very promising. Pastor Shanks said something about the changes not being real changes and stuff like that. Some of the names appearing again. I think we have to be fair, because some of the names that people maybe are saying, oh, we are not happy that this one is in the cabinet again. Really, their grounds are things that have not gone to court yet. It's just people like rumors. Oh, this one is involved in that. This one is involved in that. And if you look at President Chakwera and how he's been doing his things, he takes time. He gives people chances, and also the fact that he wants to have a proper understanding of what everything is happening to somebody before he makes a decision. Of course, people would come to say, why did he take time to fire somebody like Kezin Sukwa and that sort of thing? But eventually, he fired him. The same with Honorable Kambala, when that thing happened, he fired him. But President Chakwera just doesn't rush with his decisions. I think if Malawians, we start understanding how he works, we will have a good understanding. I know it's very difficult to have the patience of waiting, because what Malawians want is probably just quick actions. We hear rumors about this cabinet ministers involved in corruption, then we want that person to be fired.
We want the knife to go straight on.
Let me come in there, because
no, Bishop Shanks, no, wait, Bishop Shanks, before you come on in, go ahead, Elder Mvula.
So what I would say is this cabinet that he has chosen now, I think, represents the best that we have at the moment. In terms of the numbers, I'm not going to go into that because I don't have the full facts on whether most of them are coming from the central region. But I'm seeing a good representation. Bura talked about the gender balance. It's in there. I'm seeing names of people from the north. I'm seeing names of the people from the south, and obviously people from the central region. So I think the president has tried his best. Let's also remember that he's facing a challenge whereby he has to balance the cabinet from the Tonse Alliance partners. So it's really very challenging for the president. And if we can understand him and the challenges that he faces, probably
Comrade Charlo, but why didn't you have the very same stand when DPP was appointed?
Exactly. That's
from
my
their
whole
own
point.
region. You are one of the people that was, up in arms
making
against
noise
the DPP's policy,
Yes.
because they had able people from the Loma Belt, but the posturing was what we were questioning.
Exactly.
We are a republic that is united. We can't be seen to be having two rules for one game, and that's what is happening with this government. That's what we fought. We are not saying it's the same thing when we had that issue about the president's daughter going to the embassy. I had no problems with her qualifications. She could be qualified. Or what we were fighting was what he promised Malawians that he was not going to repeat. So we're saying you can't be selling us something then when you are in the very same position, it's precedent. It's what the generations that will come will study, and they'll begin to follow and use it as a precedent. And so this is what I have problems. I was going to talk about a few things that have happened, but I know that we are so many here. I'll pass on that.
Bishop Shine. So
I wanted to just before you ask me another question, Chance, because you will make me forget what I wanted to say.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about
Right.
the same faces in the cabinet, but we are talking about the performance of some of the ministers that have been retained in this cabinet.
Right.
Who have absolutely done nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's nothing to show for, but they are back in this cabinet for what? So at the end of the day, all I'm saying is I still see some kind of appeasement with how the president has chosen this current cabinet. And at the same time, I want to say this to all of us. Guys, I know we love our parties. I am a UTM guy. I love my president. But we should never back the obvious. If something is wrong, we should be able to come out and say it is wrong. Because many times we try to defend things that we rightly know that they are not right. So if you say the president has a representation of the South, the North, and are you sure about that? Let's get down to that cabinet list. Let's scrutinize it. And you'll see that 70, if not 80% of the cabinet ministers are coming from the central region. And this is something the president was on about. In his campaign, he said he's never going to do this. But it's happening. So it's not just about that. It's also the performance of some of the cabinet ministers. You talked about the president taking time to make decisions. That's a pastoral heart. We don't need a pastor in the state house. We need a president. And in Africa, you have to be ruthless. When it comes to decision, Bingu is a perfect example of a leader who was aggressive in dealing with issues. And he had a lot of stuff covered because he was aggressive. Now, I love my president. He's a good man. And I do believe that he can take Malawi far, but we have to help him. And one of the things that we can do is to be open enough and tell him the truth that, Mr. President, be a president and not a pastor. If you need to fire Shanks, fire him if you see that he is not helping your vision. Don't keep me because I helped you to become a president. Don't hire me simply because I come from the same church where you're coming from. But do the right thing, because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it will be his name that people will talk about. It is his legacy that is going to be online.
Okay.
Can I add one thing to what Shank said? So Brother Chalo mentioned that we need to understand how Chakwera sort of operates, right? Now, the main issue we're actually here for is the issue of corruption. And if you're going to reshuffle your cabinet and retain certain people, and I do believe that there is competent people in that cabinet, right? We don't disagree with that. But if you're going to reshuffle a cabinet, you ought to be very strategic, especially if you're fighting corruption. Now, as Mahara said, the bedrock of corruption is nepotism. Those systems in place that we have to dismantle. A cabinet reshuffle. I have seen some debate on social media that some of them is not. It doesn't look like it is a promotion at all. Some have been demoted. What happened to the previous post that they were holding for that has led to a sort of a demotion? Are they really doing well? We don't know. We don't have facts about their performance. I don't know if in Malawi, in cabinet, in government, whether they do performance management. I do not know.
That is, in fact, that is really a good point, because I really want to know: are we just being critical of the people not performing, or do we have the statistics of
the KPIs?
So only the president will know why he has promoted some and reshuffled some. Right? But when Brother Chalo said that we need to understand how he operates, because he takes his time. With corruption, you have got no time. With corruption, you're going to have to be aggressive and ruthless. And he said it himself that he is going to be as ruthless. He is going to go head on. And I think that is what we want to see our leader do. That's what we want it to be head on, as he said that he would do. The issue of corruption is huge. It is huge, and and I believe that behind the premise of the reshuffle was that they were made in a strategic way in order to move forward. The whole matter issue is to move forward to tackling this corruption that is happening in our country, the arrest of the criminals that we all have been talking about, the Sattergate and the rest of them all. And I think his stance, for me personally, I've been saying it, his stance has to be aggressive. We need to see some aggression. We need to see him head on with corruption at this rate, because I feel that our nation continued to crumble down. And when I went, and Shanks can agree with me, it's almost as Malawi is on his last knees. And I don't know what's going on with the whole economic recovery. I know that they have put another person in place. We'll just be hopeful that that person is going to deliver.
Probably that's the thing that I really want us to shift into, in terms of the people given the positions, whether they're capable enough of delivering. And I think the first one that probably we'll definitely dive into is what you just mentioned in terms of the economy. The finance minister probably capable enough, Mahara, of Sosten. Do you think he's capable enough to do this?
I know Sosten personally. He's a capable young man. Okay, he's a man that works, and I think he's the right choice. Okay, there are so many credible individuals, even in the new cabinet. Nancy Tembo is another one, very credible. Patricia Cagliati, another credible, hardworking individual. There are so many people.
Women.
Vera Kantukule, an amazing person. But there are those that we also know that are there just for appeasement. We know it.
Timothy Pagonaji akupanga chani parliament. What is he doing?
I'll tell you, quite contrary to what a lot of people think about Timothy Ntambo.
Exactly. Tell them, Minister Mahara. Tell them what they
have
know.
Started what he has.
He's your friend, I know.
Started a ministry that was not even funded at all. Okay, the man raised the whole structure for that civic education, because I think, like we were saying the other time, we have to be able to separate politics, from actual facts or opinions of somebody. We need to be able to take it out. To me, I think one of the biggest performers of that government was Timothy Ntambo, but he was not funded. I wrote it in one of my articles in Nyasa Times, where I say, why do you have this credible? Because everything that went wrong with COVID, from so many things that I've gone through, is because the civic space was not being well supported.
Well supported.
You understand? The guy received $500 million kwacha to run a ministry, an annual budget. What is he going to do that is not even enough for salaries? So we have to be honest when we are analyzing, and I'm not saying that he's perfect. Yes, I might be biased. He's my brother. He's my friend.
Yeah, but on that same note, Minister Mahara, that same note, sorry for cutting you short, just for 30 seconds. On that very same note, I do agree with you that maybe he has performed, but we don't know that. We don't know that his ministry was not funded. You remember what I said earlier on, that our country doesn't give out information as to what is exactly happening. And the people can just crucify Ntambo, not knowing that the guy couldn't do anything because he was not funded. And nobody knows about that. He didn't come out to tell the public about that. So it could be true that the reason why he didn't perform, it was because he didn't have funds. Number two, we don't know as well. Maybe the same lack of funding that he had in his ministry, other ministries experienced the same thing. But others did perform. So that we cannot tell. That we cannot know, because that information is not
issue
public.
with the comrade in Tambo's issue is because we read the document that he presented in Parliament. If you want to know what he achieved, it's out there. It's in the public domain. He has, he was the only minister actually who gave a 90-day report for his ministry's achievement when president was giving his 100 days report. Not any other minister did it. He presented it. So he has everything in in writing, you can access it. But again, like what Bishop, you were saying, one of the biggest problem with this government is been the communication aspect.
Yes.
They have failed miserably to
Right.
either anticipate things and to stop things, or to, you know, narrate what they are doing. I think so. In the communication aspect, we have had problems.
Now,
there is a big problem, because even what Chalo is saying, Chalo could be saying the truth that the president has achieved a lot, but we don't know about that. I know at one time, Gospel Kazako, I think it was on Zodiac, he tried to list, you know, things that the president had achieved in his 100 days, you know, but that has to be made public. You don't have to wait for the public to ask.
Okay, wait. Bishop Shanks, Chalo, tell the people where they find this. Surely there is somewhere Chakwera delivers, isn't it?
Yeah, there is a Facebook page which is called Chakwera Delivers, which really puts all the stuff that is happening, whether it's infrastructure development, whether it's anything else relating to what the government is doing at the moment. So I find the page to be very informative. It's called Chakwera Delivers, or if you search it on Facebook, it really gives a good account of what is happening. And if I can chip in terms of
but Chalo, do you think is that the proper medium to communicate to the masses as to what the president has delivered?
Not really, but we also have to understand that I think there is the Freedom of Information Act in Malawi, whereby you as an individual, you have the right to contact the Minister of Information or whosoever you want to get information from and ask for information, and they will provide you information. So the responsibility really is, while the government has the responsibility to make the information available to people, but you as an individual as well, if you want particular information, you can go for it. I think we've seen on Facebook as well, people like Idris have done it before, even though sometimes they faced some challenges to get some of the information.
He didn't get anything back. Yeah, he asked, but he didn't get it.
Yeah,
he didn't get any response.
The structures are there for you to access information, and you can contact the Minister of Information, Gospel Kazako himself. You can contact the Director of Information, Chikumbuso Tumodzi. You know, they will always provide the information that you need. And if I can also use this opportunity to comment on Sosten Gwenge, which was
that's where I wanted actually to push you to say drive at what I really want us to achieve in terms of scrutinize the whole cabinet. Now let's start with like I said, I wanted us to start with Sosten. Do we think it's kept right?
I wish Pastor Chance should have been showing us that love you are showing, Charles. I wish you would have been showing us that love, man. That would have been great, man.
No, but what it is
Bishop Shanks, are you trying to say I'm being biased here?
Very biased.
That is no comment.
In terms
let's go back, Charlo. Let's bring it in. Come on in, bring it in. About Sosten.
In terms of Sosten Gwengwe, I personally feel he is the right choice. I don't want to be biased because he's a personal friend of mine, but he is a talent. He is a talent, and he possesses quite a lot of good attributes to make him be successful on the role. He comes from an accounting background. Of course, other people are saying just because you're coming from accounting,
just because you're an accountant, would you be able to deliver? That's the question,
but I think he will deliver. He's the guy who has delivered in almost each and every role that he's been given. And personally, I feel he is the right choice. He's young, which is also a good thing for all the young people out there, you know, to inspire some of the young people as well. And it just shows that President Chakwera himself really believes in the youths as well, because giving that crucial government role to somebody as young as Sosten Gwengwe should be commended.
Yeah. Before anybody comes in, let me also once again remind you that if you're watching from my Facebook page, your comments will not be projected. But if you wanna, that comments I've seen Nick, you're asking, can you project these comments, please? So Nick, may I ask if you want to that whatever point you're saying to be projected here, get over to Media Ease platform. So go on Media Ease. That's where we have the stuff coming over that I can show people what you're saying. Other than that, I can read what you're saying, but I cannot project it. If you want to be projected, go to Media Ease, shift.
Well,
Anyway,
and tell Nick as well to give us evidence of what he's saying, because he's just.
I know.
I think
That's
he's
the
talking
battle.
over a
That's
glass
the
of
battle.
wine.
We're not going to start. We're not
So,
going to start that battle.
yeah, he's talking over a glass of wine. So when he's done drinking,
No, Bishop. Let's come back. Let's get back to ourselves here.
tell him
Let's
to
get back.
come and
Beulah,
comment.
Beulah.
Right.
I come to you. I really want you to look at the composition of the the 30-man team that he has put together. What is your take in terms of the people in place now? I mean, Bishop Shanks says probably the reshuffle hasn't happened according to the way he thinks should have happened, because there are certain people that have been recycled that probably haven't delivered in certain places. But that's surely the need for reshuffling. Probably he didn't deliver there, but maybe he can deliver in the Ministry of Sports.
I mean, I some of the individuals have been mentioned here. Some of them I do not know them personally. I know Vera personally. She is amazing, impeccable, competent. Nancy Tembo. I do not know Sosten personally, but so far from talking to everybody, they seem to take a liking to him and that he's delivered and he's as competent. So I can't say much about that. My thing has always been at the very beginning. I remember when Dr. Chilima came to the UK, when we sat with him, he was so more interested in that having a government or a cabinet that has even technocrats, and my thing is, I just feel that that is not happening. If we want to recover our nation, we're talking about dismantling systems, right? A cabinet reshuffle is or might not deliver what we all are expecting, because there's a system in place that has not been sort of dismantled, and that's going to take years. We are not expecting an instant dismantling, right? But I think that my take is I'm not an expert in politics, but my take in a reshuffle or a cabinet, even in picking the right candidate, include technocrats. I do think that Sosten is a right candidate in that he's a young man. He's so far from everywhere he's delivered, and I mean everyone has sort of had him, so there must be something good about the gentleman, right? But my thing is, I was asking myself that is this cabinet not fat? As in, is it not huge? Were we not talking about having to slimline the cabinet, and that way we sort of have a few members in the cabinet? But I'm not a politician, I'm not an analyst, but I just think that there's some individuals that had certain portfolios and they have been shifted to another. To me, that seems a little bit of a demotion. And I'm thinking, are you still keeping them because you want to appease, or you feel that they have merit to be in that department? It's questionable. I do not know. Only the president knows why he picked them, and we do not know. Do you know what I mean? We know, for example, what's this gentleman that was in foreign affairs, and yeah, and we have Chimwendo, who was
in the Homeland Security.
Yeah, so then you question that why have they reshuffled him to that area, and that sort of thing. And but at the same time, we need to be positive that of recent we have heard some stories coming from the Foreign Office that are a bit embarrassing, not a bit embarrassing. And I believe that having Nancy Tembo there would actually shape that whole system in the Foreign Affairs.
Minister Mahara. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry to cut, Bura.
It's all right.
Is it not? I'm trying to drive at this point. Is it not right to, because if he hasn't performed here, put him somewhere? Beulah also seems to point out the very same, to say somehow you guys have a problem with this. I mean, reshuffle means this person is all right, but this is not his take. Let's bring him somewhere else. Is that not the good thing?
I do agree with you. There's nothing wrong sometimes just to reshuffle people. Okay. But like Beulah said, I keep on calling you, yeah, Beulah. You know, she said that I think for any corporate, you know, entity, when you're going through so many things, the first thing that you do is to tighten up fiscal belt. Okay. And one of the ways you do is to streamline. And we expected the government to go that route, to create a small government, big idea type of government where we don't need all these deputy ministers, because we operated for so long without line ministers in some of the cabinet. That was evident enough that we could do without the deputy ministers. And like Beulah is saying, we could have the technocrats or the PS manage the thing. So my worry is that we still are maintaining kind of like a bloated bureaucracy. And when we are actually talking about trying to end corruption, because we know that when bureaucracy is big, it's hard to end corruption. You know, so we could have, and one of the ladies actually commented on the comment. We have a model. We have a model by Bingu. We have a model by Kamuzu. Kamuzu was running this thing with like about 9 cabinet ministers. Okay, and then there was a system that was solid. So we know that it can happen in Malawi if we put our priorities right. Now, in as far as some of the key players, like we were talking about, I think Pastor Chance is no longer.
No, I'm here. I just want the shade. That's fine. I'm good.
Some of the people, you know, I think for Honorable Chimwendo, I might be biased. He's my brother as well. So I feel he would do better with the young people, since he has been dealing with the young people on a party level. I think we know that one of the things that was lacking in the government, to be honest, was a proper representation for the young people. There was no act that was, you know, coming through even in parliament to challenge the needs. Even in this case, I was reading what the Malawi Human Rights Commission have written today. And one of the things that they have just, you know, highlighted is failure to bring youth into the cabinet. Because when we're talking about young people, we are talking about people that are below 35 years of age. We know there were people like Alege Banda that got into cabinet when they were young, you know. So we could do that. And I think Honorable Chimwendo is the right guy. He can champion certain things that would benefit our young people. He's a very approachable guy. He's a very open-minded person. I've dealt with him. He's a good man. So we believe, I think, in that department, our young people will have a proper representation, I think, moving forward.
So in your words, there is some good about reshuffling and putting Chimwendo in the place where he's meant to be, isn't it?
There's some good, and I'm not faulting the president for reshuffling, but we're saying the system, the way it was in Malawi, literally needed an overhaul of some sort.
Yeah, we are not just looking at we are not just looking at everybody else being bad. There are people that have performed, and I think now Chimwendo has been placed where he will perform better, because we know what he does when it comes to the youth. And like Mahara said, he's a good man. I mean, he's a very good man. I've known him for so many years, and I know that his interpersonal relationships with people is very good, and he will be able to do it. He will be able to do a good job as a minister of youth and sports. But Beulah said something, I think, which is very important about the technocrats, and most of the PSCs are technocrats, and that's where sometimes we tend to point our fingers on the ministers. But it is the PSCs that literally runs most of those ministries. They are the ones that have a bigger hand in whatever happens within those ministries. So if you're talking about a government or a cabinet reshuffle, we must also look at the PSCs, these technocrats who are working under these ministries. Like, are they competent enough? Can they deliver? Because some of them have been on these contracts from the DPP regime, and they are still running that ministry until today. So you won't expect to see changes if you are just, it's just like taking the fruit out of a tree and expecting a fruit never to grow again. By you taking the fruit, you are saying, oh, we are dealing with this tree, and then it's not gonna grow enough. But you gotta deal with it from the roots. So we have to look at the whole government system of operation and make sure that every single person that is placed aligns themselves with the vision that the president has. Because if the president cannot do that, he can reshuffle the cabinet, but the problem is still there in the whole civil service system. So that has to be looked at as well, and make sure that everything is put in place. We should look at this as a whole. Don't just look at one aspect of government. Let's look at it as a whole and deal with it as a whole. So we can sit here and talk about the cabinet, a cabinet being from most of them from the central region and a few from the north and south. That's just a little bit of it. But there is more to deal with than.
And if I could just add a little bit, I know I've spoken a little bit too much. The ministry that I was really like thinking the president would have changed, to me, in my personal view, was the Minister of Health. We had an outbreak of scabies, leprosy. We had COVID mishandled badly. And then I'm looking at this is the primary ministry. And then we still have the same captain in that ministry without, that was a little bit, to me, a little bit of a letdown, to be honest. But I should also commend him for combining the Ministry of Economic Planning with
and finance.
Yeah, because I think there was a gap between those two things. So I commend the president for bringing those two.
Merging that. Yeah.
There has been talk, some people talking about some of the ministers being demoted. I think Bura talked about Honorable Nkaka or Honorable Chimwendo. I think it depends on how you want to look at how everything is, because I don't think coming from Homeland Security to Youth Ministry is demotion. I don't know. I don't know how these ministers are ranked. But I was
talking about what people are saying on social media.
Right. Okay. Because I would say, like, for example, Honorable Nkaka. To me personally, Honorable Nkaka being moved from Foreign Affairs is a good thing, because if you go into MCP circles, you find that most of the people really had concerns. Honorable Nkaka is the Secretary General of the party, the CEO of my party, which is MCP, and being Foreign Affairs Minister, he was always going abroad, busy. You know how the work is. And we have always been longing for the president to give Honorable Nkaka a ministry that will make him to be in Malawi, that he can balance his ministry duties and also the party duties. So I personally think Honorable Nkaka being moved to natural resources is a good thing for Malawi Congress Party, with him being Secretary General. The same with Honorable Chimwendo. He is just that guy who connects with the youths. I know people when they are talking about sports, for some reason people only think about football, but sports is very broad. And also the very fact that there's quite a lot of youth activities or initiatives that needs to be done. I think the right person for that role is Honorable Chimwendo. And is it Minister Mahara, you talked about putting in the cabinet people that are under 30 or 35 or something like that. I think we also have to critically look at how some people that were put in the cabinet of that age have managed to do their thing. I would give you an example. Like Timothy Ntambo, 36 years old, but despite the many criticisms that people say, oh, he hasn't done much, his ministry is irrelevant, but the guy has done quite a lot. If you read what he has done with the Civic Education Ministry, the National Unity Ministry, he's done quite a lot of work, which for some reason people choose to ignore, to look at what he has done, but always prefer to just say, oh, your ministry is useless. But also maybe we can look at another representative of young people, Honorable Ule Munsungama. The jury is out there to say how he has performed. But what I'm trying to say is, probably the people that are chosen to be representatives of the younger people, like in the sense 35 or 37 or below 40, should also go in the cabinet and perform for the sake of other young people, because the president will believe in young people based on the people that have done the job before.
Okay. Now, before you come in, anybody else, once again, we're about to close. Probably in the next 15 minutes, we should get out of here. But what I wanted to say, for those of you that have been saying some of the comments, probably, if I may read out, just to be fair, it looks like people have not still got the idea that they should shift to Media Ease. Next time, if you're watching us, make sure you're joined via Media Ease. I don't know why it's not showing. Actually, I've just seen that, Minister Mahara, that my profile is up there, but it's not showing. But Bashan Kennedy thinks, it says most of you guys here are UTM or MCP. There's nothing critical you would discuss other than trying to outshine each other, which I believe is not right, which I believe is not happening. But everybody's entitled to what they want to say. Chakwera delivers page just accounts for the projects the DPP initiated or projects being implemented by City Council. Do you think so? Anyone, Mr. Chalo? Do you think that Chakwera?
No, it doesn't matter whether they are DPP projects, because those projects are needed. And if the president comes in and finishes those projects, there's nothing wrong with that. Because most of the times what happens is another president starts something, and then when they are out, the one who comes in wants to break everything that the other one started.
Right.
DPP had a lot of, good plans, and a lot of infrastructure plans and all that. So if this current president comes and he finishes on those projects, kudos to him. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
And I think you're right. The other thing, I think, was it Minister Mahara? The other day we were discussing this. No, I think it was Dr. David Kalua. He said one of the problems that we have in Africa is that one president comes and speaks a vision and begins to do something and then leaves it halfway because it's voted out. Another comes and brings something different altogether. More like trying to outshine the other one who came in. But then, surely under the old regime, there were some good projects that were begun that we could continue, implementing these. And I think to answer your question, Bashan, there's nothing wrong with the DPP starting it and the Tonse government implementing it. And I think probably we need to look at why did DPP not implement it? Madam, Minister Mahara, did you want to say something, or do we go to the lady because she's been quiet for a while?
Let's go to the lady.
Okay. Madam.
The prophetess.
The prophetess, yes. Nabula. your take in some of these things, if I probably may trigger you to this, do you think taking the Homeland Security off, you spoke something a little bit about demotion. Do you think that is demotion?
Yes, because so I was referring to what the masses are saying about that, but I love how Chalo has clarified that.
Right.
I don't know the guy personally, but this is what some people are viewing the reshuffle of Chimwendo and Nkaka. But I think if that's the case, I think that's quite strategic, and that's welcomed.
So in a way, there are certain things surely we can point out in the reshuffle going forward that we should expect certain ministers to really tick. Mahara, you had an issue with the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
I had an issue with
suggestive and Minister of Economic Planning and Minister of Finance.
Right. In your suggestive, listen to this. In your suggestive criticism, what would be the right person for the job then? Who would be the right person you'd think?
I'm not so sure. To be honest with you, I'm not so sure. But Sister Biola say, there are so many. We have a pool of talents in Malawi. We have people that understand health. I think part of the thing with Honorable Kumbize, because I know she comes from pharmacy background, and that's another different discipline. I think when you are in that field, it's very hard for you to understand about care and prevention. And
Minister Mahara, what's your own the same? This is one thing I want to find out. Could you take somebody who has nothing to do with medicine to champion it?
It's possible, but there has to be something that they can show for. I think the best way, the safer way with the way Malawi is, we have technocrats, like you're saying, people that are well versed in those areas. Why do you have to take your own chances with somebody who is not trained in that discipline?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of doctors. We have people that understand public health, Mrs. Malewezi, she's a young girl, a young lady, let me put it this way, who has done a lot of work, during the COVID, educating people personally. I think people like that, very young, fresh talents, and we have so much.
Also,
I think we have so many.
would I also suggest that probably, I think one of the things I feel that we have, they've kind of like should I say undermined, is the fact that in the diaspora we have people that can be called back home to do something, isn't it? Is it not right to do so? Or are they just limited to the people on the ground?
We never suggested it at the time. I think I had a meeting with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We looked at Singapore, India. They have these exchange programs. They're pool of talents. They are given a chance once a year to go and practice in their home. But in Malawi, there are bottlenecks. There are these red tapes. If, let's say, we take Dr. Daniel Dube, a pulmonologist.
I was just about to speak.
And you want to send him to Malawi, he will have to be subjected under supervision in Malawi by somebody who is less sophisticated.
And is commanding respect in America.
The man has his own project right now to control the whole public health in the West Indies, in Trinidad and Tobago.
Wow.
I think on that one,
he's own initiative, and yet he's our Malawian expert that we cannot even actually,
bring them and say, let's
and remove all these. I remember when COVID was here in the United States.
Maybe we can't pay them.
No, these are people that are willing. I know these people personally. These are people that are devoted to Mother Malawi. But in Malawi, there's always this problem that we don't want to harness the talents. Especially, there's always that the divide between the diaspora community and the people that are back home. There's always,
but I think there are a few things that we need to look at on that one. Why I'm saying that is I think maybe it's an area that need to be worked out by the leaders in the diaspora and those back home, because personally, I met the president when he was in London, and that is an issue that we talked about skills exchange and stuff like that. The president is very much willing for that to happen, and he was really into that idea. But as Minister Mahara said, it's the red tape. So I think that should be work in progress for the leaders in the diaspora and also those in Malawi, that if we can find a way of removing those red tapes and for those kind of things to start happening. But my understanding...
Chalo, who is responsible for removing the red tapes?
It's the government. Actually, it's the government. And I'm
the main man, the chief is entitled to remove the red tape. Surely.
I'm sure the Foreign Affairs Ministry should take responsible for that. And
I
think this is one of the issues that probably we will discuss with the new minister to see how we can move forward with that. But my understanding is that those ideas and those plans of starting those skills exchanges are there, and it's work in progress.
Yeah, but you see, the problem with our governments, I'm using the word governments like not necessarily the current one, but even the past governments, is the fact that most of the appointments are based on politics and not based on competency, not based on skill. Most of the people are hired or they are put in positions because they helped the party to get where it got. And but I think we need to go beyond that. And if you did have a meeting with the president and the president was, in agreement with that idea of skill exchange and all that, and he has the power to remove the red tapes, then some of these things we don't need to wait for years for them to happen, because the power is with us. Now, for example, I don't know what you do, Chalo, but you seem to be a very well-versed man. And even in the way you are explaining things and expressing things here, I can tell that you are educated and you have some skill in some certain area of life. And if you are capable with the exposure you have being in the United Kingdom, getting educated in the education in the United Kingdom, I believe you have what it takes. You know, as a Malawian at the same time, you have what it takes to improve and make Malawi better. So some of these things we don't need to wait. I believe the president just needs to put his vision there and align people who are capable of manifesting this vision, of bringing this vision into play. Put the right people in the right places. So if he has the power to remove the red tax, I would say remove the red tax. Let people like Due come, because I mean I know Due through Mahara. He's a well-versed man in his area. He's really somebody that can help our country. So if we have people like that, let's do it.
Yeah,
Now,
another challenge that has been there that probably I can quickly highlight is the very fact that government said they do lack the skills database of the people in the diaspora. So in as much as there's quite a lot of skills in the diaspora, we are spread. Some are in USA, some are in Australia or Canada, some are in UK, but the government doesn't have one area whereby it's a database of the skills that are in the diaspora. So I think the challenge is also to the diaspora leaders, whether they're UTM, whether they are just these other general groups that are not political, to find a way to have those databases whereby the government can easily check what sort of skills are in the diaspora. I think this is a point that Honorable Chimwendo said to us when we had an interface with him, that it becomes very difficult for the people in Malawi. Yes, they think about the diaspora, but then they don't know where to start. They don't know what sort of skills. They know there are doctors out there. They know there are media guys like Mahara there. But
Charles, I don't agree with that.
I disagree.
That's just an excuse. Yeah. In my opinion, that's just an excuse. In this day and age, you can't say you don't know. There's Mahara. Mahara is known. You are known. You had an interface with the president.
What they want is they want somewhere where they can compare those skills, because obviously Mahara will not be the only media person out there. There are others as well.
Yeah, I'm just giving an example. Yeah, I'm just giving. They can use you, like for example, they can use you as a point of contact. I also know Chance has a direct line to the president. You know, and because his friend, he's friends with Nick. Nick is the son of the president, so he can get to the president at any time of any day. So they can use people like that. You can use people like yourself, people like Mahara, and many other people in diaspora. During the campaign,
what's the point of wings?
Yes.
What's the point of wings?
Exactly.
In our wing, e.g.,
Yes.
I'm sure in MCP you have the same.
Yeah.
We have doctors, we have professionals, we have, matter of fact, we've had discussions with meeting, you know, whether it's MCP leadership, they know we have wings for a reason. What about referrers? If you do not have a database, create a system of having, nowadays you can have a WhatsApp group of professionals and by referrer and said, we have this Dr. Daniel Dube. Everybody knows that that man is an expert in public health and everything. Some of these people, I saw a sister, Tikala, said they can even do it on a voluntary basis. And so there is a really no excuse at all.
And I think
Beulah, into the diaspora human resource.
Beulah, I must concur. I don't believe, Charles, I'm sorry, but I just don't believe that the president does not have, you know, enough information or resource before him that he can make the contacts with the diaspora to be able to, you know, pluck some and say, you sit over here. I do believe that he's got it at his disposal, that he just have to exercise his power and his right to bring these people in. If we're going to change the system, surely some of the things need to be, we gotta just be, aggressive in cutting the red tapes. You talked about the red tapes. Why would we wait for somebody else to come and cut the red tapes when actually he's the man in charge? That's my question. Because the truth of the matter is, I mean, it irritates. These people are doing well in these nations. Or let's put it this way: we're doing well in terms of the in the places where we have been put. And what, when you read about the beautiful stories, there's also a guy called Idali Sulamoyo. Mahara, you should know him as well. He's in the States as well. I mean, not only him, but we've got professionals around in UTM, in the wings we're talking about. We cannot say there is no database. We are the database as it stands. Come to us, and we're going to show you the professionals we have in our groups. That is not an excuse.
So just to mention about it, I think we had suggested, I personally had suggested on my interface that I had with the Minister of Foreign Affairs at the time, that we can see what others, we can emulate what like our Nigerian friends or most of these other nations are doing. What they do is in places that are strategic, like US, they have what they call the diaspora attaché. Okay, somebody who is not from Malawi. I mean, who is not coming straight fresh from Malawi, but somebody that has been in the community here, like somebody who has been in Manchester, for example, in the UK. He knows the dynamics there of Malawians there, that could have a desk in the embassy there in the United Kingdom. That would help, upscale the connection that is needed, because they need a tracking system. Like Charlo, you were saying, it's true. When I asked the minister earlier, I think last year, they accepted that didn't have any tracking mechanism to know who is in the informal sector or doing the formal jobs. So we can begin one by one. It's one brick at a time. I think we are happy that there's a new minister that maybe we can try to resuscitate some of these ideas and try to touch base with her and see if this could happen. But there's a lot of pull, like everybody was saying. I think to me it's the red tape. It's just like intentional frustration. Somebody like Dr. Dube, I can actually give you an example that I organized interfaces with somebody like Dr. Dube to connect them to people in the government. But we always have been frustrated because nobody from the government wants to tap into it, or they are plainly afraid, or they don't want to,
The problem is the fear, because they feel like we in diaspora, we are just here, and they were the ones on the ground campaigning and all that. So but I do believe the president, our leader, the president of our nation, he's a man with a vision, and he knows what he wants for our country. And
after
he's not
having lived abroad as well.
Yes, after living abroad, and he's exposed, and he's somebody who is open-minded, But the problem comes in, like I said, when it comes to politics, there are always those people that will surround the president and say, we worked, we deserve this, we worked, we deserve this. And so at the end of the day, these are the ones that destroys a good vision or a good leader. So in my opinion, our president has to be ruthless. And if things are to change, Malawi has to adapt a new system or a new way of operation, because you cannot keep on doing the same thing, because we are seeing a repeat of some of the things that we were fighting against during the past regime. We are seeing the same things happening. You talk about corruption, money is being taken in and out. And we just want
mindset change that they've been preaching about. Preaching about.
Right. Before we conclude, can I ask Charlo if you had 2 cents before, because we gotta let you go. So Charlo Mvula, anything you wanna just say before you shoot out?
What I can say is, I think we understand the challenges that we are facing in Malawi. There's quite a lot of them. And but the good thing that we have is it has been proven that we have a listening government. Thanks to things like social media, Malawians are now able to voice out their concerns and whatsoever that they have. And thanks to the current government as well, because it takes on board what Malawians are asking for. A number of times that we've seen the president changing some of the decisions that have been made. We've seen how people have supported, like Martha Chizuma, and also how they've voiced out against the amnesty that has led to, quashing of all those things like amnesty. So we have a listening president who promised that he's going to be a servant leader, and he's living by his word. There are a lot of promises that he made, and I'm sure, as I said before, as time goes, he will implement most of the things that he promised. There's concerns that there's need for some agency in how he makes his decisions. I think it's something that probably he knows, and we will see some changes. But Malawi is heading in the right direction. The challenges are there, but I'm very hopeful that the new cabinet will be the start of something else big.
Cool. I'll tell you what. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for accepting to be here. We cherish your presence. Thank you so much, Mr. Chalo.
Thank you.
To Minister Mahara, before you go, I know you've got to take your princess for dinner somewhere. Come on, bring it up.
No, I want to thank you, Pastor Chance, for this opportunity actually to bring us together and just talk with sobriety. Look into things without fear.
Although Pastor Chance thinks I am a cadet.
Yeah, of course we know you.
Of course you are.
The man who cried.
Minister Mahara, for God's sake, I expected you to say no.
We know you, brother. No, but honestly, you are doing a good job, and we want to. I know you're passionate about Malawi, and I also want to say I love the president. You know me.
I know.
Yeah, I love the president, and I know he's the right man for Malawi. But I also know that if we give them a chance to grow complacent,
then we're making a mistake ourselves anyway.
Malawi. And there are things that we think as we're starting this new season, they have to do better. Yeah, I would disagree. I don't really believe that this has been the best listening government. Right. I believe that it is a listening government. There's so many things that people have voiced out. We need the SPC to go, and the president has kept the SPC, despite that his contract is already gone. So we always question some of those little things. But I know they are credible people. Like we mentioned, the team that he has assembled, people like, Chimwendo is a great man. And I know he's going to do Nancy Tembo, Patricia Cagliati. These are great, Vera Kantukuli, awesome, outstanding performers. So Sosten Gwengwe, you talked about Sosten Gwengwe. I believe the man has the capability to change certain things. And as we are moving, I think one of the things that I will ask the president and those that are leading us is just to break the cycle of some of the culture that they said. When people are speaking, let them pay attention to what people.
Attention to that.
Yeah, sometimes we come just to rub them in a wrong way so that they shouldn't grow complacent.
Yeah,
because we know they have a mandate, and as men of God and as people of faith, we will continue to pray for them, and we'll continue to pray for the success of our nation.
And I think that's that aspect, Mahara, is one of the things I think we need to revive the more in terms of praying for a nation, isn't it?
Yes.
At some point, I felt, when the Chizuma issue came up, I felt the church had slept a little bit, and somehow probably God is just awakening us to say, there's issues out there, and we need
the church in Malawi has not been sleeping a little bit. The church in Malawi has been sleeping a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
But we should commend back. They came out strong, even though it was a little bit too late. But we saw even Bishop Matoga on that interview. He came out very strong, pointing out things, and the bishops also gave it weight. Yes, the church has been what do you call this? Dormant? They've been asleep. Yeah. But I think we are now beginning to see some signs of life coming back. And you and me and Sister Beulah, we are the people that can lock arms and start speaking sense. Because if we wait for those people in Malawi, I don't think, the advantage of those of us in the diaspora is Amadou Ojazaga Libe Mlandwe. So, we are not positioning ourselves for
a ministerial position. No, we're going to speak it as it is.
But at the same time, they should be thinking of us because we have the capabilities to do some of the things that needs to be done. Let's not kid ourselves here. If an opportunity comes for us to get involved in like in 2025, I'm going to go campaign flat out, but
be an MP.
Not to be an MP. I'm just going to help any candidate that I feel in my spirit. This one needs to.
Just reveal it. Just reveal it.
All right,
family. Thanks. I'm going to come with you.
See, Mahara, he came with the sister right there. He came with the sister.
You're going to Malawi, right?
Pastor Mahara, 2025. I'm
think it's
already,
gonna be
man.
three
I'm
of us.
going. And I'm gonna be using my own car and my own gas to campaign for my leader. Doing it.
Listen, guys. I mean, I always look forward to this because I do know there will be humor in there, but also there'll be good points, and I can guarantee you guys that this is something I enjoy doing with you guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Minister Mahara, Bishop Shanks, and Beulah. There was another issue which I wanted to tackle, but we don't have time now, and I don't want to start there. The issue of a VP, our vice president, and all that stripped, and we could have talked about that, but let's leave that for
but before you go for 30 seconds, just for 30 seconds.
I haven't even spoken. What's wrong with
counting?
Yeah, 20 seconds. Yeah, we haven't said our final words, me and Bill. but I will say mine for 30 seconds.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the success to Tonse Alliance largely and hugely depends on the relationship between the president and his vice.
Right.
And, that should not be underestimated. That is something that the president should always be aware of, and the vice president should always be aware of, because they got into this as a team, and that team spirit must be continued all the way to 2025. They shouldn't be thinking about 2025 now. They should be thinking about developing Malawi now. But it looks like a lot of politics have gone in, and people are thinking 2025 when we have promises to fulfill. So that one is key. Number two, I love Dr. Laz. He's a man of God. He's an upright man, and I do believe that his intentions for Malawi are good. And my prayer is that he should just be guided by the vision that God gave him. He prayed for this, and God told him he will be the leader of Malawi, and he is the leader of Malawi. Whatever the Lord told him, he should live by that to the book. Number two, Number three, it is also important. We know he's a pastor, and pastors have a fatherly heart, but we want him to be a president. And if there is anybody within his cabinet that is not doing what he is supposed to do, he should be able to take them out without any problems, because he has a vision and he has a mandate, and the mandate is to the Malawian people and not to one or two persons within his cabinet or within his circle. So that's very important. I wish him the best. I pray for him, and his success is a success. I'm a pastor, he's a pastor. If he fails, people will say we don't want pastors anymore. Some of us still have
you have no chance if he fails, isn't it?
Yes, some of us have dreams to become presidents in the future. So at the end of the day, we want a good representation out there. All right. Thank you so much. But I appreciate your time, Chance, and thank you so much for bringing me into the program as well.
Always a pleasure, man, having you always. You know it. Yeah. Beulah, your last word, madam.
Right. Thank you for having me on this show. It was amazing to have this debate and, to have a platform like this to express ourselves. I express myself as an individual, not because I belong to any party, for someone's information. And, I think we are here because we do care about our nation. And matter of fact, I do love our president, and I really want him to do well. And I think we are critical, not because we just want to be critical, but because we actually want him to do better. And he is doing well, and I think he needs our support. I'm very grateful that he's included a lot of women in his cabinet. And I'm also grateful that he has listened to people on occasions. And that's not to say that he's just reactive. No, he does listen to some of the people's concerns and act on them. And I think that the reshuffle was decisive. And my prayer for him is, I've spoken to you about this, that I pray for him for God to grant him wisdom from above and discernment. But I really wish him all the best, because we love our country and we are supportive of him. And that's it from me.
Bless you. Thank you so much for coming on once again, for accepting to come on. And I hope to see you again next time, hopefully. God bless you. Have a good night. But that's how we ended today. I want to say to all the viewers, to everybody else who's been, you stayed up and you watched to the very end. Thank you so much. Like, share, and next time, let's be together. May not be coming every other week, but when we come, it's going to be overloaded where we are able to take more than an hour like we've done today. So apologies if we took more time, but we had to because there were so many issues that we had to speak and we had to dissect because we were on a pause for a while. But anyhow, thank you so much. And like I said, like Media Ease Inc. And, if you like this show, share it with somebody else. Of the points that we're talking, there are some points that surely we can share. And as a church, as Christians, pray together. Do not just keep it to yourself. And I believe it's the time that as much as we see the vulnerability of the things on the floor, we can take our part to pray that God brings in wisdom that actually begins to sort out the mess that needs to be sorted out. But we know that Malawi is on a good path. God bless you so much for staying up. Once again, have a good night. I'll see you next time when we're back on. God bless you.